Sup, Sexy Peas? Welcome to Sexy Peas, recipes to give you confidence in the kitchen. Are you going? Have you started? All right, let's begin. We're going to move straight into drinks. So this week we're going to have Scotch. If you're a Scotch fan, God bless you. I am not. I'm a bourbon fan, but that's okay. Nobody can tell you what you like. If you like Scotch, great. If you don't like Scotch, who gives a shit? You drink what you like. Drink what you like. Typically, Scotch is served in roughly this type of glass. This is a tulip-shaped Glencairn glass. And you don't want to put a lot in it. You put in enough, basically to get a couple of swallows out of it. Always remember, you can add more to your glass, but you can't add your glass back to the bottle. So we're going to drink it neat this week. That means that we don't have any ice. It's just the Scotch in a glass. Scotch can be drank in a myriad of different ways. You could add spring water to it. You can add an ice cube to it. You can drink it neat. Again, try it a few different ways. Figure out what you like. Much like we poured wine, you can see that I poured it till it's starting to curve back in. So that's what we're doing here. You can also drink it out of a rocks glass. It doesn't have to be out of a special glass. So we're going to do the same thing here. Again, don't put much in. You don't want to waste it if you don't like it. And you can't pour it back into the bottle, but you can always pour more from the bottle into the glass. Ta-da. Ready? I'm ready. Are you ready? Did you start already? Okay, we're going to move on to our recipe. As a general rule, one of the things you always want to do anytime you're touching food is to make sure that your hands are clean, so wash your hands. One of the things that I like to do is just to make sure that when I am washing my hands, that the people that are there with me recognize the fact that I'm washing my hands. And you don't have to stand there and wait for them to look at you. You can always draw their attention. You can, just draw their attention to, oh, did you see that LeBron and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar made out last night or something? I don't know. They were together for some reason. That's all I know. So just make sure you wash your hands. Make sure people see you washing your hands so they know you're not a dirty whore. So we're going to move on to today's recipe, which is artichoke hard dip and a baguette. We're going to heat up the baguette and we're going to heat up the artichoke heart dip and we're going to add a little cheese to it. The dip just came from a local deli. Nothing exciting about it. Go in, pick it up, bring it home. We're going to doctor it up just like we did the mashed potatoes, just like we did the meatballs to make it good. But we're going to start with the baguette because we need to heat both items up. And one thing I could very easily do is I could just put the artichoke heart dip in an oven-safe container, put it in my secondary little tiny oven and heat it up, but we're going to pretend like you don't have that option. So we're going to have to prepare the bread first, get it good and warm, and then we'll figure out a way to heat up the artichoke heart dip after we have the baguette ready. So we're going to start with the baguette. So the first thing we want to do is we don't just want to put a dry baguette in the oven. We want to make it taste good. So we are going to slice it up and just add a little butter. Anytime you're working with a cutting board, this simple, cheap cutting board, you want to put, especially if you're working on a countertop like this, a porcelain countertop, put a dish towel down. That way your cutting board doesn't slide around. Now that our hands are clean, we can get our baguette out. And what we want to do is we're going to be cutting pieces small enough that you can tear them off and dip them in the artichoke heart dip. So you don't want a piece that's 2 inches thick. You want a piece that's a 1/4 inch thick, maybe a 1/2 inch thick at the most. So, but you don't want to cut, because of the way we're going to add butter to this, we don't want to cut all the way through. We want to cut like 3/4 of the way through. And I usually like to cut, instead of just straight across, cut it at an angle. It makes it look a little prettier, just like my mama. So cut, 3/4 of the way through. All the way down. Okay, I'll pause it and I'll go ahead and finish doing this. All right, so we have our baguette all cut up. You can see how thin the slices are, relatively thin anyway. One thing I didn't mention before, because I just got done cooking, is before you even get started, anytime you're going to be working in an oven, you want to turn your oven on to get it preheated. I never believed in preheating because I thought it was some kind of communist propaganda, but it actually does work. You should probably do it. So turn it on, then start doing all your work. Doesn't really matter if you don't, you can just sit and wait for it to heat up. So what we're gonna do is to make this baguette taste a little bit better, we're gonna add a little bit of butter. Typically what I would do is get down into every one of these grooves, but because there's so many freaking grooves, we're just gonna brush butter across the entirety of the top of it. Super simple, you can use a knife. I also sometimes use whatever this thing's called, brush. Thank you, brush. You can do that, doesn't matter, either way is fine. So just stack it up on top. It'll seep its way down as it's heating up into into the crevices, if you will. And you're gonna wanna check the instructions on your baguette for what temperature you need to cook it at to end a sentence with a preposition, and how long you need to heat it. This one I believe is 425, and it's for 74 hours or 15 minutes. So we have a lot of butter across the top. What we don't want to do is spill all that butter into the oven. So I'm just going to make a bed out of aluminum foil. So let me grab that. I'm back. All right, so here's our foil. And a third. Boom shakalaka. Now I usually like to roll it up a little bit just so it's holding it. Then we just want to take the entirety of it, just shove it in the oven. Whew. All right, now let's move on to our artichoke dip. Again, straight out of the deli. And one thing, if I was normally doing this, I would just put it in an oven-safe bowl, fill it up, add a little cheese, put it in my extra oven about 5 minutes before the bread was going to be done, and it'd be easy. But let's assume you don't have an extra oven. So let's, first of all, get the artichoke dip out. Woo-hoo-hoo. Come on now. Come on. All right. So what I'm gonna do instead is we're gonna make it work with a pan. So we're gonna load everything up into the pan. Actually, now it won't. Sometimes I just talk to myself. All right, so just literally just load it up. There we go. Super simple. Spread it out so it's about the same thickness all the way around. The reason you want to do that is because you don't want it to overheat. You want everything to heat up at essentially the same speed. So spread it around. All you need is a spoon. Pretty simple. And then you might recall the cheese we had one of the other times last week for the mashed potatoes. We're just going to take out a little handful of cheese, add just a little thin layer of cheese to the top of it. Super simple. Probably need more than that. Again, you figure out what you like. Put on as much or as little as you like until you figure out the exact right amount for you and your company and all that jazz. And in my opinion, that is enough. Again, back to the foil. We're just going to cover this with foil. Just hold the heat in when it's warming up. And that's pretty much it. But we're not going to put this in at the same time. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait for the bread to get done cooking. We're going to pull the bread out. We're going to turn the oven off. And then we're going to finish slicing the bread. Well, we'll put the artichoke heart dip in the oven. So while the oven's off and it's cooling down, the heat that's still in there is going to heat up our artichoke dip. And in the meantime, we'll slice up our bread and get it ready to go. Ta-da. Yeah? All right. So our staples this week are cutting board, which we saw this one, which I was using more as a serving plate, and also just the plastic one. But also you'll need not all sets of knives, but at least a bread knife. And you'll notice a bread knife is a little different than all of the other knives. For example, a chef's knife, which is just a straight blade, a paring knife, which is a little bit curved, a cheese blade, which is cantankerous. I don't know what all those things do. But if you look at a bread knife, you'll notice that it has a serrated edge. That's this edge here. It's kind of looks like waves on an ocean, which makes it a little bit easier to cut bread. So you want to get you at some point in your kitchen some type of bread knife and some type of cutting board. All right, so the bread's ready to come out of the oven. Safety tip, which is also kind of a general rule, anytime you're getting in an oven to take out something hot, don't put on one glove, always put on two. The reason for that is because if you start to drop it or make any kind of slip up, your natural instinct is to grab for it. And if it's 400 degrees, it's not gonna feel very good. So always put on two. So here's our baguette. And again, what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn the oven off. Then we're gonna take our prepared artichoke dip and just set it in the oven to warm up. All right, so and in the meantime, while that's heating up, we're gonna finish prepping the bread. We'll use this, I guess. I didn't prepare. We'll use this. So we're finished preparing the bread. The nice thing about aluminum foil is aluminum foil does not hold heat. So you can, as soon as it comes out of the oven, you can touch it and do anything you want. It doesn't matter. I just got butter all over my hands. Give me a second. You can cut this part out. The part where I'm washing my hands again. Very exciting. Okay. There it is. All right, so now we're gonna finish cutting the bread, which means we're just going the rest of the way through. We've already cut 3/4 of the way through, so we'll just finish cutting through. All nice and doused with butter now. And if you have any kind of skills, you can decoratively set them on your serving space. I do not have that skill set, so I'm not gonna do that. And that's pretty much it. We can cut it again. Boop. Did you already start? Yeah. All right. So the artichoke dip should be good and warm by now. So we're going to put our mittens back on. Also a good staple. We haven't gotten to them yet. And pull our dip out of the oven. Woo-hoo-hoo. It's pretty hot. So now you can actually just serve it straight out of this pan, just like this. Just dip your bread in it and enjoy. You ready? Now for our toast. Here's to a long life and a happy one, a quick death and an easy one, a good girl or boy and an honest one, a cold pint and another one. Cheers. That's actually all right. I thought I hated Scotch. That's all right. If you want to go faster than the speed that we are going, or if you want to watch old episodes, if you want to get prepared for what you're going to need for next week's episode, you can go to sexapiece.com. It's spelled sexapiece.com. There's a link below where you can click on that. And enjoy the kitchen. We'll see you next week. Yeah? All right. You ready? Boop. Did you already start? Yeah. All right. A second. You can cut this part out. The part where I'm washing my hands again. Very exciting. And that's pretty much it. We can cut it again. Ta-da. Ready? I'm ready. Are you ready? Did you start already? Okay. Are you going? Have you started? All right, let's begin.